Welcome everyone to Selenium tutorial series third part. So continuing everything from second tutorial, here I have my main.py file and I'm opening it. I won't waste your time and mine and just we'll go to program. So in this tutorial we'll do more of handling exceptions, how to find objects and so on without crashing our WebDriver, and I will simply copy many of exceptions I use usually because, well, what's the easiest way to get exceptions is while you're using a bot and, for example, it hangs on some of your functions, and on error it writes that it hanged on this exception. So we'll handle this, and I will simply copy these exceptions here. So what we want to do next is, for example, how we would like to find element by ID. So I will write a very simple function. For example, this will be define check exists by ID, and here will be driver and check ID. Okay, and now we will write driver ID is equal to driver dot find element by ID, and here I'll write our check ID. And yeah, that's quite simple, and as a return we'll give him back an ID. So we would like to test out. What we'll do, we just run our function. I'm running it back on Chrome, on Firefox, and let's see what we can do. So for example, we are on sign in page. You press it sign in, and what you should know that if you're working, you should use always web developer and inspector if you're on Chrome. On Firefox, on Chrome is something very similar. I don't remember exactly how it's called, but very similar. So what we do is, for example, we press here, and you see that there is input by ID, identifier ID. So right now we have a function. So what we need to do is just write it up. I copied it, check exist by ID, and here I'll write driver, and here will be our identifier ID. Oh, so no, so wrote it a little wrong, so it should be like this. As you can see, it found everything what we need, and now we could, for example, write a identifier ID, for example, is equal like this, and I think that we could write ID send keys. Oh, not yet. I think we need one more import to do this, and let me see. I'll do something like from Selenium Webdriver, common keys, import keys. I'm not sure if this one is required or not, but well, we can try it. And so we are going back to our send keys. I think it should be like this, and for example, we will send AAA. As you can see, it wrote a value as AAA, and for example, it could be your mail, and you click next. So it's quite simple how you can automate the login to your Gmail account. but it's not yet. From my experience, I know that if you do this login for about 1,000 times, you'll receive one of these times would at least one of these times will be an exception. So we need to handle that exception. And this will be no such window exception. And in this situation, we just write return false. You can do whatever you want, but I'm doing return false. Okay, so we finished while we want to find something by ID. Next is our possibility to do the same thing by name. So I simply will copy this by name, and I'll write here name, and here I simply check name. Check here I driver name will write, and find element here will be by name. Nothing a lot to change. Check by name, and here I'll return driver name. So we finished this function, but I think I need to restart my browser to check how it works. But at least I can show you with this drive. Oh no, I rather better restart my browser. It would be better for you and me. So let's go to sign in place, and again let's open our web developer inspector window. I move them right like this, and click here, and let's see if our input ID has name. Yeah, it has identifier, so it will be quite easy to find it. I'll just change some lines. Identifier, okay, it should, yeah, as you can see, it found whatever we need, and I can do the same thing, name equal to this, and here I'll send a name. As you can see, AAA appeared here. So okay, you can move to another element. So this element will be one of my favorite, and it's called check exists by XPath. So I'll copy again this, and I'll just write XPath driver in XPath here, and let's try that path is equal or drive find element by XPath here, and here goes XPath, and here return by path. Well, because I'm using it mostly, I know more exceptions that can occur in this place, so I will just simply copy these exceptions from above. Well, so there might be WebDriver exception and still element reference exception, I think. Of course, you can write, for example, print here exception name before doing whatever you need, or you can return not a false or do something else, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Just I'm showing how I handle this and what I do. So I'm using XPath, and at the same moment I think I'll write one more. So I'm using XPath by array, so it might find a list of elements if I need. So I just write check exists array by XPath. So it's quite similar, but instead of element, there's elements, only C at the end. So it's not that easy to see that. So yeah, I can leave the same exceptions, it doesn't matter. And I don't know at the moment how I will show you how my works array by XPath, but at least in future tutorials we'll see. I'll show you. So right now I can demonstrate how it works. At the beginning it might be a little different, but later you'll find everything out while you use it with these exceptions, because it doesn't matter, you are searching by name, ID, or whatever you want, but you use always the same XPath function. So I again open my web developer window, inspector, so call it, and okay, and let's do again the same thing, I think. So right now I'll copy my XPath, check exists by XPath, open this window, and I'll write that X. I'll call it simply an X. And check exists by XPath, and here I'll write driver, and now we need to write an XPath. So for example, we here have an input. So what we'll do is we write like, what we'll write is we write that we are searching an input. Next we add this, and here we write by what, input by what. So here is by ID. I'll write an ID and equal to what we have an equal here is identifier ID. So yeah, it should work. Let's press enter, and if okay, my X is not defined. Yeah, as you can see, it worked just fine. So now I can try to send some keys to it. Send keys. Again, AAA. So we tried to find by identifier ID. So right now we can try to use the same XPath, but right now maybe would like to find it by, let's see, autocomplete maybe, or name, autocomplete, whatever. Okay, I'll find by type. For example, by type, I'll change this to type, and he'll write email. Okay, let's print enter, and I'll delete this, and let's send, for example, BBB. Let's send BBB was sent. So as you can see, this is quite much simpler than remembering how to find by ID, by name, by class, or whatever you need, because I didn't wrote it by find by class, by some. I just wrote this for you guys. I'm not using checks by name, checks by ID, and so on. I am using just two of these. So whatever, I can try to show you also how it works with array if you would like to, for example, use this function. So I simply will copy everything the same, and let's print our X. Well, for now is only one element, but for example, if we would be searching for some kind of list, I can't find any examples here because it's Google. It has quite complicated template and so on. So doesn't matter right now, but in other cases there might be a list of these elements. So send keys won't work then, and so on. So what we can do else? For example, I could give you an example of another function. For example, how to minimize a window. So we'll define again new function, minimize window driver, and there will be quite simple function. There will be driver minimize window. Yeah, what can be easier? So again, I'm using it with exceptions because, yeah, I told you I found out them by testing and doing a lot of automating stuff, and I just saw that they can appear. So usually with minimize window there might be unexpected error, so we write so, and in this case we'll return false, and if it will be true we'll return true. Yeah, and what I can show you that it works. It was minimized. Want to see it again? Minimized. I don't know if you need or not, but good to know this command. And what else? Minimize window. We have a driver close. Yeah, I can show you how to click on element. For example, next. What we should do. So I think for this tutorial this will be the last thing before continuing on more serious stuff, because more serious stuff will take more time to explain and write. So I'll just showing you the simplest things. So let's define a simple click, we'll call it, and there will be driver, and again will be object to click, like this. And what we'll try is object to click and simply click function. And again, as I told you before, exceptions. So let me copy one of these, and there will be 3 exceptions. So one is that element not interactable exception, so it means we can't click on it. I don't know why, but we can't. Another will be element click enter subset exception. So sounds quite strange, but it is how it is. So as you can see, it's interaction with clicking something, so it's easy to feel that it's something with clicking. And one more exception would be type error. If we are trying to click on some object which can't be clickable or something. So what I'm not sure when it appears, but it appears. So if we'll write here AAA, we'd like to click on next, for example. Yeah. So let's copy this and let's write our again quite simple check this by XPath function. So here I'll just copy this line, and this will be instead of email. I will copy, and here I need to change input. For example, this will be span, and here will be our not to class but type. Type. Sorry, class. Yeah, and so X. And now what we can do is, where is our function? Minimize window, simple click. But in this case, I need to run it again if I would like to click on it, so I will just use click function. So X click. Sorry. And you can see, couldn't find your Google account. So it means it was clicked on next. I should mention that it clicks like a robot. It clicks on the center and so on. And if the site is protected from automated stuff, it might easily see that you're using automation stuff. So in this case, we need to make it as virtual click. Virtual click is that when your mouse moves on an object, it is for few milliseconds on an object, it crosses it or something like that. It always clicks on different location and so on. So I think you understand how it works, because when you use automated clicking, there's no mouse. It simply is click on a center by default. And next tutorials we'll create a function how to create a virtual click that you won't be detected that you're not a human. So I covered everything shortly in this short tutorial, and these were the basics where you can begin learning how to automate stuff. So as I told you already before, there is only one way to learn Selenium, so it is by automating, trying to create a bot or something like that. You can't learn it by reading or something like that, because you need to learn from your mistakes, what you do bad, what you do good. So you need to improve by yourself. So that's like in every life situation. So I think this will be it for this tutorial. I covered quite nice basics, how to click on elements, find elements, write some text in it, and this will be it for this tutorial, I think. And I hope that this is useful for you. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in comment section below this video. If you liked my video, you know what to do. Smash up the likes button and subscribe my channel. Then you'll get more of my tutorials. Text version of this tutorial and links will be left in video description. Thank you all for watching, good luck, and see you in our next Selenium tutorial.